So you got one of these blue belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and you want to know what to focus on. Here's my opinion. When you're a white belt, you're learning everything. Almost all the positions are new to you. You make progress no matter where you go. It's a little bit slow because it takes a while for things to start to stick. But by the time you get to your blue belt, you should know about all of the major positions in Jiu-Jitsu. Maybe you don't have a specific move set from every major position, but you at least have a general idea of what's good, what's bad, and where you're supposed to be going. When you're a blue belt, you really want to focus on developing a game plan. When you're a white belt, it doesn't really matter what you do, anything is progress. But by the time you get to your blue belt, you want to pick something. And the process of picking something can be as simple as a random move you saw in class that day, or it can be as complicated as researching on YouTube and finding something that really sticks to your personality, not just as an individual, but as a grappler. Some grapplers are a little bit more laid back, some are a little bit more aggressive, some like to play on top, some like to play on bottom, but you can get good at any move that you want so long as you practice it enough. But when you're a blue belt, you can just pick a random move, but you want to start to work backwards from there. When I was a blue belt, one of the things I randomly picked was the triangle, and I began to work backwards from the triangle. How did I want to set it up? I started doing triangles off my back in traditional close guard, and I would do various setups like grabbing the arms and pushing them. My favorite setup became a hip bump sweep. When they post their hand on the mat because they're falling back, you then bring your other leg over, collect the triangle, and work to finish your mechanics from there. And when you're a blue belt and you pick something and you focus on it, you're gonna learn the depth of that position and move. When it comes to the triangle, for example, it's not just as simple as putting one arm in, one arm out, and squeezing. You often have to control the arm position, maybe you have to move it over, you gotta get the posture just right, you gotta grab your own leg to turn and get the angle. You have to place the corner of your inside knee right up against their neck. You have to squeeze in the correct way, not just straight down, but also extending. There's a lot of nuanced details that you'll learn in every move. For the Americana, maybe you learn that you got to twist the wrist and pull it back down. You can ask your coach these things. You'll learn these things naturally over time if you just get in those positions. But if you start to work backwards from your North Star, from the move that you really want to get, you're going to find that it's difficult, especially if you start going with training partners who've seen you do this move again and again. They're going to become aware of it, but that's actually what you want. You want people to become aware of your A-game move because then they're going to start defending that move. You're going to learn counters to their defenses if you push through it. There is going to be a period of time where you get good at your move, you get it on someone, and then they learn how to counter it. And you could switch to something else if you want, but it is my personal recommendation that you should keep trying to get that move so that way you can get a little bit better. So that way they can counter your counter. So that way you can counter that counter, and then you get a few levels deep, you're pretty good at this move. Then when you go to a competition or you roll with someone who's never seen that move before, you're going to be able to get them a lot easier because you've countered their counter like 3 or 4 times. So when you start working backwards from your North Star, you're going to learn that there are certain takedown sequences that will put you in the position that you want. Maybe you want to end up in side control, so you don't go for a double leg where they're likely to get you in guard. Maybe you go for a hip toss. Maybe you want to work from the back, so you try duck unders and arm drags so you can immediately start on the back as opposed to fighting from closed guard. Because if you do a double leg takedown, then you have to split the guard open, pass the guard, go to side control, maybe you go to mount, maybe you then do a back take from out. It's a lot of steps versus an arm drag, back take, put them on the ground, you're already fighting from the back. So when you start developing your own unique game, that's when you're really going to put your mark on jiu-jitsu. You're going to start developing these advanced mechanics that are going to help you as you progress into your purple. Now, of course, you should learn other things that aren't just your A game, but I would start to focus on specific techniques. I would recommend just 1, but you can do 2. 3 is a bit much. Obviously, you practice what the coach is teaching that day during class, so you're not just, practicing your A game on the sidelines while coach is showing something. But when it comes time to that rolling, the sparring time, try to funnel things into your A game. You're not always going to get there, but you can get closer to there. You can get right before that position. Now, if you're doing positional drilling, right, do the positional drilling, but eventually you're going to have some free sparring time. Eventually you're going to have the time to work on whatever you want to work on when you're just sparring in general. And if you start funneling to your A game, you're going to start developing nuanced techniques. You're going to start developing counters to counters. And then when it comes time to tournaments, you're going to know what you want to focus on. I've made a video about the difference between white belt and blue belts in competition. And the difference when you're a blue belt is people are going to have A games. So if you don't have an A game a position or a submission where you're exceptionally strong at, you're going to be at a disadvantage because other blue belts are going to have A games and they're going to try to funnel you into theirs. But if you have your own A game, you can get a jump on them. You can start funneling them into your positions and you're going to get where you want to be because you know where you want to be. It almost sounds dumb, but if you don't know where you want to go, then you're going to wind up where they want to be. So having a clear focused goal as a blue belt is going to give you some direction, some focus when you're training. Because a lot of the times blue belts can get demoralized for a bunch of different reasons. But when you have something to focus on that's more narrow, you're going to be able to see progress a lot faster than if you're trying to get better at all of jiu-jitsu. Because all of jiu-jitsu is too much. And when you're a blue belt, that's a bit when you're anyone, that's a bit overwhelming. Focusing on your A game, picking out, it could be a random move, it could be something you sort of kind of like, but you can get good at just about anything in jiu-jitsu if you spend enough time practicing. So don't fret if you feel like you picked the wrong move. Obviously you can switch, but don't just keep switching. Pick something and focus on it for 3 months, maybe even 6 months, and make that your A game. You will see progress in that move, in that position, a lot faster than if you're just generally aimlessly trying to get better in general. You can get those general good improvements in your overall jiu-jitsu when you're focusing on what the coach is teaching, but in the back of your mind, or even in a jiu-jitsu journal, if you write down your main goal, your number one North Star submission or position, you are going to be much more likely to get that in live rolling, and you're going to see a lot more progress. And in my opinion, you're going to have a lot more fun when you know what to focus on. Drop some comments. I like to read them. Peace.